Alright guys, we have been working with partial products, and I want you to remember that that means we are finding part of the final product and then adding them together. And so far we have looked at the model that looks kind of like an algorithm. Let's say we're doing 86 times 4. The first method we looked at has us look at our ones and multiply just the ones. 6 times 4 is 24. And then we want to move over to the tens and multiply the tens place by the ones. So 8 times 4 is 32, but we need to remember the 8's actually in the tens spot. So it represents 80. And I know 8 times 4 is 32, so 80 times 4 is 32 tens, or 320. And add those together, and there's your product. Partial product, partial product, product. And today I want to look at a couple different ways to do partial product in addition to this. So another way that you might see or might prefer to do, we're going to take that same expression of 86 times 4. And in this method we're going to take our 86 and we're going to remember what that looks like when we break it apart. So I can break it apart to look like 80 plus 6. And I still have to solve the whole problem. So I'm doing 80 plus 6. I'm taking that times 4. And when I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this 80 and I'm going to pull the 6. And they both have to be multiplied by 4. Same thing we did with our other method. I'm going to think 8 times 4. And I know 8 times 4 is 32. And since it was 8 tens, my answer has to be 32 tens. And then 6 times 4 is 24. And I still get that same answer of 344. A little bit of a different approach. So another way to show 86 times 4 is 80 plus 6 times 4. And then we can take a very similar model. We're going to also use breaking apart or decomposition for that. Let's start with our 86 times 4. Let's see if I can focus that a little bit better. There you go. Whoops. There we go. So I've got my 86 times 4. And same thing, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to break the 86 into 80 plus 6. And that quantity has to be multiplied by 4. And I'm just writing it a little bit differently this way. It's the only difference from the one I just showed you. So I'm going to take my 80 times 4. And since I'm adding right there, I'm going to continue to add. And this time I'm going to take the 6 times 4. So I'm still multiplying 80 times 4, 6 times 4. I'm still doing 86 times 4. And then here, I do the same thing. 8 times 4 is 32, and it's tens. 6 times 4 is 24. And now I know 320, well 20 plus 20 is 40, so that's still going to give me 344. And what we looked at a minute ago, we said right here is one way to show 86 times 4. Well, right here is another way to show 86 times 4. So we've seen so far 3 different ways. We can multiply this way. It's a partial products algorithm. We can do this way. It's one method of decomposing it or breaking it apart. And we can do this method, another way of decomposing or breaking it apart. And the last way that we're going to look at, which is one that kids typically like, and that's using the area model. In area, if you remember from 3rd grade, it's finding the length times the width to find the number of square units that fit inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to still think of my 86 times 4. And I think of my 86 as 80 plus 6, and I'm multiplying it by 4. I'm going to divide that to separate my two numbers. And then I'm going to come in and say, well, 8 times 4 is 32. Since it's tens, that's 320. 6 times 4 is 24. And when I add those together, I have my 344. And again, this one is referred to as the area model. It's still finding partial products. There's a partial product, and there's a partial product. But we're doing it a little bit differently, and again, that's called the area model. This one will be really nice when we start putting a second digit over here and multiplying 2 by 2 or 3 by 2. For 4th grade, we focus on multi-digits times 1 digit, and we focus only on our models. So remember, we can use any of these, but right now we're not using that standard algorithm because we're learning why the standard algorithm works. So I hope that helps you. Use your textbook. Use the develop lesson or the develop video for lesson 11.